Hi, everybody. Dave Stevens here. Day 2 from Radio Row here in Tampa. A very frigid Tampa, but we're not going to complain because everybody back east has been dumped with almost 2 feet of snow. So, we'll take the 47s or whatever that we have this morning. But great opportunity again to kick off things here at Super Bowl 55, Day 2. Some media starting to come in. Some of the former players and stuff like that are not allowed here from the NFL, but that doesn't mean we don't have some of the biggest names that have been around. And I'm really excited to bring in my next guest, who's not virtual. In fact, he's 6 foot from me. He is over 6 foot, but he's a former Tampa Bay Buccaneers center, which is a tough thing to do when you did 10 years in the league. And we're going to talk about what it led to and things like that. But Randy Grimes is 6 feet away from me. It's great to see you, my friend, and thanks for joining us here today. It's
thanks for having me.
You've been to a lot of these.
I have. This is my 12th consecutive year here talking about athletes in recovery.
And it's got to be surreal for you because you've been to these. It's like you can't even get around in these events and see people, and you're trying to shake hands and hug your old alumni. Now it's kind of a virtual ghost town.
Oh my gosh! When I walked in here today, I was shocked. Like you said, this is usually a hustling, bustling place, and yeah, it's a shell of what it usually is. But you know what? We're here for a reason, and we're going to get it done. And it's just great to be in Tampa, back where I played, home team, playing in our home stadium in the biggest game in the world.
Now, what was that like for you? You had a couple of good years, not so good years.
Wait. What were the good years? My best season was 6-10.
So how do you deal with that when you're playing every day, you're getting paid every day, and the team doesn't improve, and your body is getting banged out there with linemen crushing you, and you're trying to hold up, and your knees are trying to hold up, and your body parts, and which probably led to some of the addictions that you had to deal with.
Well, it absolutely did. And I was that guy willing to do whatever I had to. I would come in every year, and that was going to be the year. That was going to the Steve DeBerg year, the Steve Young year, the Vinny Testaverde years. That was going to be the years. And so you come in with a new attitude every year, and we would always be 1 or 2 players short, seems like. But it's I was that guy willing to do whatever I had to stay out on the field. And for me, that meant taking handfuls of pain pills every day and working through the pain and the injuries that I had while I played with the Bucs. And that led to a full-blown addiction back when I was even an active player in the NFL. And I was going to be the best player. I wanted to be the best center that ever played the game. I wanted to play the game forever. I wanted to feed my family playing a kid's game. And those were ways that I justified it. I didn't look at it for what it really was, a full-blown addiction. I looked at it more like a necessary evil. And, I was willing to do what I had to stay out on the field. I was not going to be the guy who was always on the injury report or always missing practice. I was not going to get that reputation. I was going to do what I had to stay out on the field. And that's what led to a full-blown addiction.
David Stevens here at Super Bowl 55. I know it because I'm 55 years old, and that's why I get to be a part of Ollie Plus TV and a great opportunity for the Disability Channel and Jay Stoyan and all those folks up in Canada. And, of course, my new friends with Ability Media at Quinnipiac University, and we've got a former great for the Bucs, and it's got to be great for you, as we touched on it a little bit earlier, to be here, a home game. You've never had a home game for a Super Bowl team before. I know LA was kind of in the same city, but, especially in a COVID year, that these fans get to celebrate and embrace not a lot of great Bucs history, but, you'll take it when you can get it, right?
Yeah, and these fans have always been so loyal. Even back when I was here, 83 to 92, they would come out, they would support us. They'd always sell out the old sombrero back where, the stadium that we had before they built Raymond James. And, the fans are just so great, and they've always been loyal. So that's what I'm most happy for, is the fact that they get to celebrate this, and they get to celebrate with their home team and in their home stadium. So I'm excited about what Tom Brady has brought to this town. And, I wondered how much gas he still had in the tank back when they signed him, but he proved me wrong on that. But I did know that he was going to bring that confidence and that air about him. And those are the things, as an offensive lineman, you want to see when you go back to the huddle. You want to see that quarterback in charge, and that's what Brady brings to this young Tampa Bay Buccaneer team.
Now, you have been a part of the league for a long time, but I'm part of a show called Rock Bottom and Back, and it's about people that have really gone to the lowest points of their entire life and have come back. And I think that's a big part of what you're doing. And when did your struggle start? Did you know you had an addiction at that time? Because that was a time in the league where it was basically patch you up and keep you on the field at all costs.
That
We didn't talk
warrior
about, yeah,
mentality.
no concussion protocol, none of this stuff, which many of your brothers in the league battled through this and didn't have the comeback story that you've had.
Well, and the mentality back then was that warrior mentality, that junction boy mentality, where you practice hard all week and you just barely had enough left in the tank to play on Sunday. The philosophy was you played like you practiced. So if you didn't practice hard, you weren't going to play hard. The game's changed a lot since then. They don't practice near as hard as we used to. They don't beat themselves up all week and then try to play on Sunday. The game's changed a lot. Medical advancements have changed a lot. But yeah, back when I played, it was every man for himself. And if you weren't healthy and out on the field, somebody else was going to be in your position. So that's where it all started. I never expected to take that necessary evil into my retired life. And for the next 20 plus years, the addiction raged out of control. My injuries were just getting worse. The pain was getting worse. And my addiction was getting worse. And finally, at 49 years old, after losing almost everything, I finally put my hand up September 22nd of 2009 and said, I can't do it anymore, and asked for help. And that's when things started to change.
What was your lowest point?
Man, I had so many of them, but it seems like the perfect storm was coming together there in the spring and summer of 2009. My good friend Tom McHale, who I played with here in Tampa, doing the same thing I was doing, self-medicating his injuries he got while he played for the Bucs. He just didn't wake up one morning because of that. I was having seizures one right after another as a result of withdrawal from the medication. My daughter had just had her first baby, which was my first grandchild, and she wouldn't let me come around him because I wasn't fit to be around her baby. And I wasn't. My wife was on the verge of leaving me because she couldn't love me to death anymore. She just couldn't sit by and watch me slowly destroy myself. I had lost everything. I'd lost jobs and houses and cars and relationships, sleeping on the floor of an abandoned house. And I can remember laying on that floor with no utilities in that vacant house thinking, I was the second round draft pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was a college All-American. I was a 1988 NFL Man of the Year. And here I am sleeping on the floor of a vacant house after losing everything. And that's when I finally put my hand up and asked for help. And that was in September of 2009.
So once an addict, are you always an addict? Are you always in recovery? I mean, people say, yeah, I don't need a drink or I don't need this. I mean, how do you battle that every day?
I think you have to, the terminology is a sensitive subject for a lot of people. I consider myself an addict in recovery, daily. All we have is 24 hours. And, I have to do something every day. I have to get out and talk about it. I have to get out and share. I have to go to meetings. I have to call my sponsor. I have to be accountable. After I got sober, I was still so desperate. This is like right when I first got out of treatment. I was still so desperate to stay sober. I didn't trust myself alone that I would come back on the treatment center campus every day, even though I'd been discharged. I wasn't a patient anymore. And I would just pick up cigarette butts so I could be around the people that needed to see my eyes and hear my voice. I needed that accountability. So I have to be accountable every day to somebody, even now. And it's been 11 and a half years.
Well, it's awesome, and I'm so glad you're here to tell your
me
story.
Too. Thanks.
Randy Grimes, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, here representing athletes in recovery in the White Sands Treatment Center. And for those out there that are watching this interview, you can visit proathletesinrecovery.org or www.wstreatment.com. How prevalent is this issue with current players and former players with virtually no education of what to do?
Well, and it's still going on because that warrior mentality still exists. It's play at any cost. You stay out there, you stay in your position, or somebody else is going to be there. So that is still going on. I think that over the last decade, through our advocacy, that a lot of the dispensing of narcotics has gotten a little more accountable. You know, I don't think they do as much as they do, but to some degree, it still goes on because it's still got that warrior mentality. You know, they still want those players out there. If there's any way possible to play, we want you to play. And guys are going to put pressure on themselves, even if the team coaches and team doctors don't put pressure on you. The athletes themselves are going to put pressure on themselves to get out there and play. So the mentality still exists. It's going to always exist. We just want to raise awareness that this is what can happen. And when you don't have that game anymore, when you don't have that uniform to put on anymore, same thing with veterans, you know, when you don't have that uniform to put on anymore, you don't have that locker room to sit in anymore, or that playbook in front of you, life gets tough. And we want to help you prepare for that.
And speaking of helping, don't forget to check out the disabilitychannel.ca. That website, we've got some great new opportunities for people to get jobs. Click on the site, find where Anna Marie Jeffords is. Anna Marie Brovins is helping everybody to get jobs online for disabled and veterans and everything. And, you know, the Disability Channel is doing some amazing things these days. They're starting up a show they got in Milwaukee, coming to the United States this side. So, you know, please help the Disability Channel to grow, to get bigger, and to allow people like Randy Grimes to join us and help us. So follow the Disability Channel on all of our social medias, and again, some great opportunities for jobs out there for veterans and those with a disability. Randy, is there a day you wake up and you're like, I need to take something, or are you confident every day when you wake up that the battle is going okay for you?
Well, there's things I need to do daily, that's for sure. Um, I guess what I learned through treatment and therapy and everything is to play the tape all the way through. And I know that I can't take anything as directed. That's just not the way I'm wired. So uh, I know how it ends every time, and I just don't want to go back to that life. So I stay accountable. I have a sponsor. I have sponsees, and I do everything that's possible. I do everything that was told to me that I needed to do. You know, I'm still at that point. I'm still at when I crawled into treatment back in September 22nd, 2009, I was desperate to stay sober. And I think I set desperation in me to stay sober every day because I know what I had to lose.
Well, it's an amazing story, and I'm so glad you're still here with us. But you know, you played in an era with Band-Aids and tape it up and send you out. You played with Mike Singletary, some great names in college at Baylor where you played. But you've also watched some of these warriors fall, from CTE and Junior Seau and these guys that you played against. Does CTE scare you? Are you worried to get tested? Do you want to know what your future lies? I mean, is that in the back of your head?
And I have been tested, to the best of their ability. There's not a lot they can do, obviously, until
they dissect you.
Yeah, unfortunately. But you know what? With the guys that I work with, a lot of them want to blame CTE on the fact that they self-medicate. And you know what? I'm kind of at the point where I'm not going to let them do that. I'm going to hold them accountable. And yeah, you might have some issues going on, but there's something else. There's some other trauma going on besides the CTE that's the basis of this addiction and why you self-medicate. So I'm sensitive to that, but I try not to let guys use that as an excuse or let families use it as an excuse for not having boundaries and holding people accountable in their addiction.
All right, let's move on to some fun stuff.
Okay.
All right, we've talked about it again. God bless you, and I'm so thankful that you've overcome. I mean, you played with, again, the names, DeBerg and not the best Steve Young, obviously,
but he was pretty good. He was pretty good.
They shouldn't have let him go.
That's true.
But so the big game, the old man in me, and I'm sure you, is kind of pulling for obviously your team. But then there's the realist in you that says Patrick Mahomes, pretty dang good quarterback. So who you got in this matchup?
Well, and Patrick Mahomes is from my hometown. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah.
From White House, Texas. I'm from Tyler, Texas. That's just a small community outside
Earl
of Tyler.
Campbell.
Earl Campbell, right? Rose capital of the world, right? Tyler Rose. You know what? He's a playmaker. He's a young Steve Young. That's done probably a lot more than Steve Young's done it by the time that they're the same age. But Tom Brady and when they first signed him, I didn't know how much he still had left in the tank. I knew he was going to sell a lot of tickets, but man, that guy brings that confidence that you need in the huddle. And to this young Tampa Bay team, that's going to make all the difference. And I see the team it seems like they're just now gelling. They've gone on the road, they've won 3 big games. Everybody's confident, and to have Tom in that huddle, I think that makes him worth every penny they're paying him.
And us being old guys, it's got to be
we
better
like
to be
see the old guys do good.
Quarterback,
right?
yeah,
Right.
we're closer to Tom Brady than Patrick Mahomes. So, Randy Grimes joining me here. He's got some big things out there. The White Sands Treatment Center. You're promoting the Safe Bowl, Super Bowl Sunday. What's that about?
Well, we just wanted to provide a safe platform for people to view the Super Bowl, to be a part of the party experience, but in a sober environment, a safe environment. So at White Sands Treatment Center, we have an athletic complex back there. It holds several hundred people, and we're going to provide an opportunity for people to come and enjoy some bands, enjoy some great speakers, be with like-minded people, and we're going to take it right up until kickoff. And then at kickoff, you can head off and go do your thing. But we want to start you off in a sober, safe environment. It's such a party atmosphere around Super Bowl, and we just want people to have a safe place to go.
All right. Well, we look on the screen right there, that young guy, that number 60 up there, and good-looking guy in the middle here. And again, they can hire you to speak. How can they find you?
Hey, you can find me at proathletesinrecovery.org. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. White Sands Treatment Center here in Tampa, Florida. And I think that's it. I've got a book coming out too this summer called
Off Center.
Yeah.
Yep. And you got a high
school.
school. You got a Victory Recovery High School in Tampa.
Oh yeah, the Victory. Out? Yes, the Victory.
I do my homework.
We just had our ribbon cutting a couple of weeks ago, so we're real excited about that. It's the second recovery high school in the state of Florida. The other one's up in Jacksonville, so we're real excited about this. This is a necessary service that we need in every community.
Well, keep it going.
Thank you very much.
I'm hoping that this is a success, because the kids have just as many issues without that treatment. So, last question I got to ask you before. What would you tell your rookie you now? Is there some philosophy, some sort of thing that if you could go back to that young Randy, out of draft pick, all wide-eyed and open, what would you tell yourself to that kid?
Well, and I always say that the first thing I found out about the NFL was that it wasn't a game anymore. It's a job, But I would tell that young Randy Grimes that it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not put your hand up and ask for help. And I struggled too many years out of guilt, shame, pride, ego, and all that because I wouldn't put my hand up and ask for help. So I would tell myself that it's okay to not be okay.
All right. Randy Grimes joining us. He'll pop over here to my buddy Sam Coonert. Thanks for the time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Continued success, and man, you're doing all right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Randy Grimes joining me. This is Dave Stevens. I want to say hello and goodbye for the rest of the afternoon. Got some other stuff coming. Ryan Leaf, 9 o'clock tonight. You're going to want to hear his story if you haven't. And if you have, you better tune in, because he talks about stuff you've never heard him talk about. So thanks again. Don't forget to visit the Disability Channel and follow us on everything you do. Don't forget to follow Sam Coonert at ability.org. Our friends at Ali Plus TV, got to say that. And, of course, hey, the new job that we're doing at Ability Media for Quinnipiac University, it's going to be unprecedented. So thanks, everybody, from Radio Row here. We'll pop on a little bit later. This is Dave Stevens. Stay safe, stay good, and stay inside.